All right, thank you very much. We are now we're now moving to the next part of the next session. I'll be transitioning from my hat as Master of Ceremony to one of the two co-chairs of the next session. We'll be discussing scaling up climate technology through law, high-level plenary 3. Very important topic. However, I remember that one of our esteemed speakers earlier had said that it's not all about money. I'm not sure if you still feel the same way after having heard this amazing, oh, but she's leaving now, the amazing session that we have enjoyed together. So without further ado, I'd like to invite to the stage my co-chair for this session. Thank you. Advocate Annette Magnusson, who's the co-founder of Climate Change Council. I'm very excited, glad, honored to be co-chairing the session with her. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll now be inviting the speakers. I believe one of them is present in person. The other two are connected online. Nothing Damilola. Okay. So, yeah, so that's right. I was checking on the online ones because I see only one of the two. But I did check with Varvara. Excellent. Thank you. So very welcome to join us. So we'll start with the persons that are connected here. The persons that are connected online, and then we'll move to the persons that are present here with us. So Professor Tracy Hester, I believe is connected online, if I'm not mistaken. It's difficult for me. I can see a hand. I think the angle is a bit difficult for me, but I can see you very well. Thank you very much. I confirm that I can see you. So I'd like to give you the floor so that you can share your perspective. You are professor at University of Houston. You're the co-director of the Center for Environment, Energy, and Natural Resources role. And I'm very excited to hear your perspectives about this important topic of scaling up climate technology through law. The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone, and good morning from the United States in Houston. I say it's wonderful and exciting to be joining you today. I will jump in quickly, though, because if I remember correctly, I'm allotted 5 minutes, and we have 2 questions. One is, how can law drive climate technology dissemination, including climate repair? And second, how can climate-conscious lawyering also complement that effort? So obviously, it's an enormously broad and deep topic. My hope is I'll just hit a few high points, and then we can dive into them in greater detail during the Q&A sessions. So the track of the first question, which is what role law can play in driving the implementation of climate technologies. Obviously, the easy answer is the law can mandate it. And that is something that is increasingly becoming a facet at a domestic level. Now, obviously, if we're looking at it from the level of the Paris Agreement, as well as implementation of UNFCCC mandates, right now, in this very conference, earlier I was privileged to participate in a separate panel that took place focusing specifically on the issue of dissemination of technology transfer under Articles 6 and 10 of the Paris Agreement, and exploring some of those concepts with Dr. Will Burns and a very impressive delegation from Friendship. The bottom line of that is that the Paris Agreement does provide a framework which helps support and encourage those transfers. It is not, however, couched in a way to actually drive or compel that type of dissemination. It is important to keep it in mind. It's important to keep in mind that these concepts can be incorporated into other aspects, particularly internationally transferable mitigation outcomes, which include implicitly some degree of technology transfer, particularly for projects that include a sustainable dimension that the parties will then be able to implement on an ongoing basis. And as a result, it's part of that sort of consensus bottom ground level up approach to the Paris Agreement. What I'd like to do is just invite everyone's perspective, at least from the United States, which is that we are seeing the dissemination of technology being driven through 2 different mechanisms, one of which is a very heavy hand of finance through the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, which essentially provides substantial funding to encourage that dissemination. That's a familiar story to most folks in our audience, but I wanted to add that there have been recent developments that will put an extra dimension to them, because we are actually now have received a final agency action announced at COP28 that is going to substantially revise upward the social cost of carbon in the United States. The number now, for at least a median scenario focusing solely on CO2, is going to increase the number to $190 a ton, and just on a short-term basis. That is going to immediately make a lot of technological solutions that would have been viewed as impractical or too expensive under regulatory drivers to now become not only feasible, but attractive or even mandated. So it is obviously a key point with the methane reductions regulations, but it's going to become a turbocharger for other types of dissemination on multiple fronts. The other dimension I just can't resist noting as lawyers, we should keep a close eye on not only the regulatory drivers that impel action, but also liability risks that create a risk driver to cause people to avoid actions that may increase their potential dangers of having to pay out down the road. In the United States, we are getting very close to actually having our first climate tort liability trials. After extensive trench warfare throughout the United States and multiple state court trial settings, every federal appellate court that has had a state law originated state law court trial tort action has remanded efforts to remove them to federal court, and they are now gearing up to proceed, particularly in Hawaii and other states, with actual climate trials. Those risks are not going to simply be just writing a check at the end. There's going to be a strong motive to settle these cases. And we expect that part of that settlement process is going to include possibilities for injunctive relief or settlement packages, which include inducements for settlement that would provide for technology transfers as part of an in-kind resolution of potential liabilities. So that's question one on what law can do to drive climate technology dissemination. Question two is how can climate conscious lawyering on our individual parts play a role? I'm keenly aware that my 5 minutes probably expired 5 minutes ago, so I will try and be very brief with this one, which is essentially there's a developing concept of climate conscious lawyering that is being coordinated and sought out on multiple levels because of concerns about, frankly, ethical duties of competence that lawyers must fulfill in advising clients, a failure to encompass climate risks and climate drivers as part of the advice may create an ethical question for the lawyer who fails to account for those potential dimensions of risk. The UK Society for England and Wales has come out with guidance that spells out some of those obligations. The American Bar Association has a climate change resolution and has previously created a climate change task force to explore the implementation of those obligations at a individual legal level for lawyers. And as a result, that duty to have climate conscious lawyering will include looking at solutions that incorporate transfers of technologies as part of addressing that climate dimension of the client's legal risk. So I'd urge everyone to take a look at the Chancery Lane Project, at the Net Zero Alliance's work, at the Auction House's work, particularly on advised emissions, which we can explore in our discussions of the panel, and look at them from the dimension that these all have footprints to deal with technology transfers as well. So with that, I will then pass the mic back to my fellow panelists.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. A round of applause for these very insightful remarks from Professor Tracy. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle, for taking the time. And no worries at all about the 5 minutes being having ended 5 minutes ago. You were actually quite on point on time. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now move to our next recap. Advocate Varvara Aleksić, you are with the Southeast Europe office with the International Renewable Energy Agency, which is based both in Bonn and the UAE, if I'm not mistaken. So in a way, you're sort of a host to this as well, to this beautiful conference, Climate Long Governance Day and COP28 itself. So I would like to ask you about, I think you have a roadmap, some elements from a roadmap to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayman. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for having the arena and for enabling us to provide what is our latest work in this very important field. Yeah, we heard many times today that we need to start from the science, and actually the energy transition requires the transformation of the societies. But what IRENA is focusing on, it is how to transform our global and national energy sector from something what we have now, fossil fuel, to zero carbon. We are trying to find a way how to reduce CO2 emissions and stick within 1.5 Celsius degrees. But our latest report, unfortunately, WITO, World Energy Transition Outlook, warned us that despite all the effort being made both globally and nationally, we are on the track to reach the ambitious reset by ourselves. And IRENA in this regards is focusing very much on supporting its 169 member states in their sustainable future and energy transition. So how to bridge this and how to support them. In order to get there, IRENA offers a roadmap for accelerating global energy transition. And at the very center, it puts two things. The first one is electrification, and the second one is efficiency, of course, in addition to renewables, hydrogen, and sustainable biomass. And I would like to also remind you that 3 days ago at COP, 118 countries pledged to triple renewables, and this research is based on IRENA's latest reports. However, this political will is only the first step. The next question is implementation. And in that regard, we need tailored and content-specific deployment policies and laws to support each and every of these technological avenues. Also, we have to keep in mind that, and we heard that in the morning sessions, that the implications of the energy transition are different in each country, as well as trajectories. So we have to keep this variety and complexity in mind while setting the policies. So what do we need? We need laws that are supporting market creation, that are supporting reducing technology costs and increasing investments. Further than deployment and development policies, we need also industrial policy. We need value creation, labor issues covered, and last but not least, planetary considerations always. So in that regards, in order to reach this pledge, we see three main important key enablers. The first one is setting energy efficiency standards and phase out inefficient equipment. The second one, introducing fiscal, financial, and regulatory measures. And finally, last but not least, to not leave anyone behind. And my final point, yes, technology plays a crucial role. However, we believe we also have to move away from the techno-centric view of the energy transition. Only when people and communities on the ground really see clear benefits of the energy transition, we can build this political acceptance to support this transition and transformation at a societal level. So let me finish with emphasizing law as another crucial piece of the energy transition puzzle that has a role to provide necessary frameworks to this end. And yeah, I would like to use this opportunity to thank each and every of you for your hard work in promoting climate and energy law and policy and giving it importance throughout this conference. Yeah, it was a pleasure being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you very much so. Thank you. Without further ado, then, for closing remarks, giving the floor to my dear coach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to our speakers for sharing their views here. And just to be completely transparent, the closing remarks was of the 2 seconds notice, but happy to do so. When I was thinking of preparing for this plenary and knowing what we will be hearing sort of from our speakers and the topic of this panel, one thing that came to my mind that many times come to my mind when it comes to sort of the technical transition, the energy transition, the climate change. And this is from my background with more than 20 years of international dispute. So we are, and we heard the speakers allude to this. We heard the technology we need for the clean energy. We heard about the legal risks, and we heard about the turbocharger. Something needs to go very fast, and we have to look at solutions. When we think about this, when you have a situation where you have lots of new technology, and just to, sorry, by way of background also, we also know that a large portion of the technical solutions that are needed to reach net zero by 2050 will come from technologies that are not yet on the market. They are have not yet been deployed, so they're still in the innovation phase, right? So again, they need to be put on the market fast. So we have a situation where we have new technology, complex technology that needs to be deployed at a very, very high speed, and many times involving new actors. All of this, for me, coming from international disputes, this is a recipe for disputes, this list. So what can we do together? We have to address and mitigate this risk. And this is where the climate conscious lawyering comes in. We have to approach the normal dispute situation slightly different because we are in this special point in time. And so I would just like to end by maybe encouraging all of the students in the room and online to keep this in mind as you choose where you want to go into and where you want to sort of invest your smart brains and your resources for the climate transition. Find a way on help us how to mitigate these risks. And with this, thank you to our panelists or joining in person and online. And thank you so much to my co-chair for being here with me today. And thank you to the organizers for this fantastic event here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll now be moving to the closing segment, and Marie-Claire, with your hands.
Thank you.